Mac guys here on Birds 365. There he is. He's ready to shoot the breeze with us for the next 15, 20, 25 minutes. The voice of the Eagles in Espanol. Coffee-aided Rickie Ricardo here with us on Birds 365. Who's that a picture of on the coffee mug?
El Tiante.
Luis Tiant. Nice.
Okay,
nice.
from our friends at ball9.com.
Nice.
El Tiante, Jody.
What does ball9.com have to do with El Tiante?
I have no idea, but they love it.
I'm sorry I didn't recognize him without the hat pulled down over his face. How the hell are you supposed to know that's El Tiante without the hat?
Well, he's got a cigar.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
He's got the stogie.
He did love his stogies. All right. Now I understand.
By the way, yeah, I miss the old school motion and guys who had a different wind up and
he'd be called for so many balks today. It'd be ridiculous. Every batter he'd be called for a
that's
balk.
tremendous flair from Luis Tiant.
Yeah.
You don't see that any longer.
No, panache. Absolutely.
Panache. Nice. Nicely done, Rickie.
Yeah, speaking of pitchers, by the way, that great Aaron Nola, the ace that he is, comes up short again in a big game, okay?
I'm going to tell Nola to not lend you a penny. He's going to be making $27 million per in the next 3 weeks. And I'm going to tell him when you come out hat in hand to go, screw that Ricardo guy. He never has given you the props for what you've meant to the Phillies during your 8 years here in Philadelphia.
Never an ace, always a 1A or a B. Okay.
All right.
You have like 7 aces in all of baseball.
I am correct again. When the money's on the table, an ace is supposed to come through. And what happens? He took the pipe again. All right, in a big game at home.
Now is Zach Wheeler legit? Is he one of those 7 guys that Jody speaks of? That's he's the ace.
Phillies have 2
Zach Wheeler. On the other hand,
yes, Zach Wheeler. That's what I'm saying. No, is he a legit one of those? Because you're right, Jody. One of the things that drives me crazy, there's not every team doesn't have an ace. There's very few of those guys. You said 7. Is he one of those 7? I think he is. Zach Wheeler, not Aaron Nola. Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, not Nola.
Yeah, I say Nola is because I have more aces than Rickie does. Rickie's got like 7. I got like 20 in Major League Baseball. And I think he is one of the top 20 pitchers and will be paid accordingly. And yes, his last start wasn't good. How did his previous 3 postseason starts go, Ricardo? He didn't look like an ace in any of those?
When the money was on the table, he choked again. Not the first time. Second or third, probably the 4th or 5th time in his Phillies career, where in the biggest of spots, he has not come through.
You're a hater is what you are. But we love you just the same, even though you're a stone-cold Aaron Nola hater. All right, I was just discussing with John before we put you up. Jalen Hurts is just not running the football this year the way he did last year. And we certainly cut him slack over the last 4 games because you can tell, despite the fact that he doesn't want to talk about it, he doesn't want to acknowledge it, you can see the hitch in his giddy up. He's playing on a painful knee. Is he going to be able to get right between now and the end of the year so the Eagles can add that element back to their offense, the threat of Jalen Hurts running? Or do we have to get used to the new reality? Jalen Hurts is just not going to run the football the way he did last year.
Well, I also heard what you guys said that I think, and we don't exactly, I don't know if we can pinpoint the exact time that he got the bone bruise or whatever it is that he's dealing with. And, when he limped off the field on Sunday, I thought for sure we were going to see Marcus Mariota. There was a timeout called there and he was able to get back in. But I didn't see him running the first 4 weeks. I didn't see him running opening day. So I don't know if this is just a whole nother way post new contract of how they work Jalen Hurts, or if it's something it's team oriented. Is it Sirianni? Is it Hurts himself? But not only now with the injury, I didn't think he was running the football from the beginning of this season. You could tell right away. There have been instances on 3rd down and let's say 3rd and 4. He's had room maybe to take that dash and get the first down, and he's either thrown the ball away or tried to make a completion to somebody. but it's not the same Jalen Hurts that we saw last year. And I think it's an overt, he's not running the football. Let's preserve our quarterback, because if he goes down, our season is over.
Well, I think that was fair before the injury, but what I was talking about with Jody, and I'll get your thoughts on it, Rickie, is when the threat was there, the Eagles' running game was still effective. Now that teams aren't concerned about the threats, it's not effective. They got to get back to the threat. I don't even care if he's successful, but if teams are threatened by him, that makes it easier for the running backs.
I agree, John, but if you look at the tape, and, coaches are watching the All-22, this goes back, and obviously at the moment you don't know, but if you look back on these first 9 weeks, he didn't run the football. I mean, the threat was there at the beginning because we didn't know what the approach was going to be, but the proof is in the pudding. The guy hasn't run the football anywhere near, nowhere near what he did, last year or the year before. I think from now on, whether they, make a shift in this, which I doubt, but I think defenses are going to game plan to shut down Swift and whoever the heck is running the football, because I don't think they have to worry about Hurts running the football anymore.
The Eagles running game being what it is as of right now, lots of different ways you can look at, lots of ways you can analyze it. The Eagle passing game has been pretty close to phenomenal, certainly over the last several weeks. And even for the whole season, Jalen Hurts is now moving up in the MVP race, at least as per the betting markets. The only guy who's clearly ahead of him is Mahomes. And most of the betting markets have him just slightly behind or even with a Lamar Jackson at this point. What would you say if I told you that Jalen Hurts is not the MVP of the Eagles? Forget about the league. He's not the most valuable player on the Eagles. That would be A.J. Brown. Would you tell me I'm not?
I have A.J. Brown, and we discussed this since we had a little extended pregame because of the 425 kick on Sunday. We had this discussion on my Eagles and Espanol broadcast, and we did a little roundtable. A.J. Brown, we rank him 1, 2, 3. A.J. Brown, Jake Elliott, then Jalen Hurts. How about that?
Going Mark Mosley, MVP. I would say like this. Ed Kratz and I do a top 25 Eagles every year for Sports Illustrated. AJ would be my number one player on the Eagles. But MVP, no, Jalen Hurts. It's got to be the quarterback. I mean, that's the most valuable definition. Because of the way they've skewed the game, it almost has to be a quarterback. Go back to last year, MVP was Patrick Mahomes, but the offensive player of the year was Justin Jefferson. I think A.J. Brown might be offensive player of the year, but not MVP.
Well, if you define it that way, then the Eagle top performer of the season, A.J. Brown, the guy that won him, Elliott has been clutch, so clutch all year. But yes, if you're going to define, and the way they look at it, the way the award is given, which is now even the Heisman, it's a quarterback award. So on the collegiate level and on the pro level, the quarterback is the most valuable piece on the field, no doubt.
Yeah, except that Smith guy won the Heisman Trophy just a couple of years ago down there in Alabama.
That's true. There's always the outlier. We talked about Adrian Peterson. He won an MVP. There's always the outlier, but you got to be ridiculous to be that outlier.
Is A.J. Brown not close to ridiculous?
No, because I'll tell you why. Tyreek Hill exists. You can make an argument that Tyreek Hill has been the best receiver in football. You can make an argument for A.J. But
has Derrick Henry ever won an MVP? I don't think so, right?
No.
So even as dominant as Henry has been the last few years, it's always been a quarterback.
You got to be so far ahead of everybody else to win that. It's just extremely, extremely difficult.
By the way, I thought was interesting. I watched Marshall Faulk yesterday explain his theory of why the position of running back has been downgraded so much, and that they're not making the money that they used to make, or have the prestige that the position had before. And he blames it on running backs. He said, we have degraded ourselves by accepting coming out of the game on third downs. Marshall Faulk says, you couldn't get me off the field. First down, second down, third down, or fourth down. I was part of every play on offense, and he's absolutely right. They have now made the position of running back, it's almost like a starting pitcher. He's going to come out after 100 pitches instead of wanting to be there and go 9 innings. So
yeah, well, I mean, you're right, Rickie. And by the way, pass protection, which is one of the reasons guys come off the field, that's a lost art. But I think that starts at the college level. They don't teach them how to be Marshall Faulk now. So,
yeah,
you know, you can't keep somebody out there. They can't even make an effort to block a blitzer or do what they're supposed to, or chip or what have you. It's tough to keep them on the field.
I thought it was interesting the way he defined that to Warren Sapp in a conversation yesterday.
Yeah, and I know we just talked about this a couple weeks ago, that's a Kenny Gainwell strength. He's the best pass blocker they have.
I wouldn't say strength. I just say the best of the
strength is compared to his fellow running mates on the Eagles. He's the highest rated.
What's you guys' theory on Rashad Penny? I mean, he gets activated, he gets a couple of carries, and then disappears again.
I got no idea how they determined their running game. And don't ask the coach about it, because the running game is fine. The way he and the Eagles define the running game, which might be different than most other people, in their eyes, their running game is perfectly fine. But he goes to bat for Kenny Gainwell. Kind of takes exception to anyone questioning Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell makes a great play early in the game, and he gets 2 more carries the entire game. What the hell? If you believe in him, if you trusted him, Nick, you compared him to both Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Will we pull them out if they didn't make a play? Of course not. And then he doesn't even use him in the second half of that game. I didn't understand their whole running back philosophy last week.
I would just say the coaching staff thinks DeAndre Swift, Kenny Gainwell, and Boston Scott are better than Rashad Penny. They might be wrong, but that's what they think. They thought Kenny Gainwell was the number 1 running back, and DeAndre Swift got an opportunity and overtook him. Maybe if Rashad Penny ever gets an opportunity, he can overtake somebody, but until they have to give him the football, we're never going to know, because they think the other 3 guys are better, bottom line. And I know because of his history, people look at that and say, why? But I would say guys aren't in a stasis either. Just because somebody was good at some point, and I go back to Doug Peterson with Jay Ajayi, at some point when he came back, when he left for Miami, and then he came back. When he came back, he said, Doug was honest, nothing left. You know, maybe he's got nothing left. I don't know.
Interesting.
But then why is he here?
Right. They haven't moved on from him. They've still got him here. So that someone could please explain that to me. John and I have been discussing this now for a couple of weeks. I'm getting tired of discussing. I'm sure the Eagle fans are getting tired of listening to it. The Eagles right now have no one who can play slot corner. Bradley Roby says he'll be ready for next week. Well, I'm kind of going to see it when I believe it. He came in, played 1 good half of football, and then got hurt. Are the Eagles just going to put all their chips on Bradley Roby through the rest of the season and not only hope that wasn't a mirage, the half of football that he played very well against the Rams, but also that he can stay healthy? Did the Eagles miss out by not Howie Roseman not being able to acquire another slot corner before the trade deadline?
I never thought I'd miss Avonte Maddox to the.
You don't like Avonte? How do you say something like that? Avante's one of the best slot corners in the NFL.
Yeah, I was going to say, I never thought I'd miss him as much as I'm missing him. Yeah. You know, these last few weeks, they've tried Bradbury, and we saw McLaurin get put in the slot and burn whoever it was that was on the other side. We saw CeeDee Lamb get put in the slot and was burning guys left and right until they finally had Slay follow him wherever he went.
Which Nick didn't realize, by the way, but go on.
I agree. as good as Howie has been, I think there was an opportunity there before the trade that there were guys available. From everything that I've heard, there were some guys available. I don't know what the cost would have been if it was prohibitive, to use too much draft capital. But if Roby is going to be the guy that's going to be the solution, then, I need to see it to believe it. So I tend to agree with you, Jody, there. He wasn't he wasn't setting the world on fire when he first got there anyway, but that's been the vulnerable spot. And what we've seen here for the last couple of weeks is that, even guys that are usually play on the outside, they're being moved in, they're being put into the slot, and they're forcing the Eagles' hand to use some of their corners and move them into positions that they're not comfortable.
Yeah, some of it's just bad luck. I mean, you lose multiple players at the position. They lost Abante, it would have been Zach McPherson, but he was already lost, and he would have been playing in the slot. Who knows how that would have shaken out? Then they bring in Roby, he gets hurt, and you're down to all hands on deck. But I do know this about Bradley Roby. I don't know how much he's got left, but he's going to be better than Eli Ricks and Sidney Brown in the slot. I know that because he knows how to play the position. Now, is he going to be healthy? I don't know. He didn't have a training camp. He got hurt right away, basically. But he knows how to play the position. Those guys, and God bless them, it's not their fault. They've never played it before. And they look like they never played it before. So, yeah.
All right, I'll bring this up right now. Who covers Kelsey Monday night the 20th at Arrowhead?
Well, that's going to be a safety. And it takes a village. That's going to be a lot of Kevin Byard, a lot of Reed Blankenship, some of the linebackers, maybe some Zach Cunningham. You got to throw a bunch of different looks at Travis Kelce, and probably it's not going to go that well.
All right, let's, if you can, John, look this up quickly while I ask Rickie a question. What were Byard's rankings for his first two games at safety for the Eagles? Which I want to cut him slack because he just got here and you're learning a new system or whatever else. But he's another one of those guys. How much has the tank been drained? Because he's a veteran now and he's not the player that he was 2 years ago or 4 years ago. So you have to try and judge how much of it is that he just is still learning the system and how much of it is, are we looking for Kevin Byard from 4 years ago, which isn't really fair to him. I'd love to know what his rankings are because he hasn't made a big play yet. He's been out there for every single snap for 2 straight games. He hasn't gotten burnt like some of the other guys have in the defensive secondary, but he hasn't made a big play, a pass defense or a super stop or anything like that. I'd love to know where his grades are as per PFF. If you can find those.
And Jody, he's had some penalties. He's had some flags thrown against him.
Yeah, the whole pulling off the other day, I hate when that happens. I really do. When the guy who reacts, the first guy gets away with it, and you can see a video replay, and we go to video replay for everything else. Good they did, because Dak stepped out of bounds and Scootmaker came up a half a yard short of the end zone. If they got to replay, they would have seen that the guy pulled him out of the pile and threw him aside, but he gets up and he pushes, so he gets the 15-yard flag. I guess I know they're never going to add that to reviewable plays, the unnecessary roughness thing, but maybe they should, because that did really screw the Eagles the other day.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the problem is, I think that would upset people even further, Jody, because that's what that again, we say all the time, the legislation, people don't like the legislation. That's what they want called. So they're going to look at it again. People are already pissed off and they're going to say, no, that's roughing the passer by what we want called. Then they're going to be pissed off twice. So I don't know how much that's going to help. But with Kevin Byard, he's been good in run support, not good in pass coverage. So
fair.
And average overall. And I think he'll get better as he gets more comfortable in this defense. The communication gets better. But he's better than what they had. So Bradley Roby's similar thing. Not saying Bradley Roby's going to be great, Rickie, Ricardo, but I think he's going to be better than what they are right now. I think Kevin Byard's going to be better than what they had with Justin Evans and Sidney Brown as a rookie. So you're going to get a little bit incrementally better. Is that the positivity? But I don't think you're going to be great in pass coverage this year. I just don't think that's in the cards.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that Justin Evans is coming back. I should apologize to the guy. He's like out of sight, out of mind. I think
poor Justin Evans.
Hell of a lot more about Roby than I do Justin Evans, and maybe he's the guy who comes back. All right, Rickie, bye week, and then a gauntlet of 5 straight very difficult games. We said 6 before the Cowboy game started, but got a couple of road games in this upcoming 5-game swing. Kansas City, Dallas, and Seattle, with Buffalo and San Francisco being home. What do the Eagles need to go record-wise over the next 5 games to still have what John McMullen considers the most important thing to accomplish this season, home field advantage, the playoff running through Lincoln Financial Field? They've done it twice in the last 5 years, and both times ended up in the Super Bowl. What do they have to go record-wise over these next 5 games?
For that numero uno seed, gentlemen, okay? And the team that has the clear path, maybe Josh Dobbs has a say in this now, believe it or not, because Detroit's got to play Minnesota twice, but the Lions have the easier schedule.
Yes, they do. I've been worried about the Lions, Rickie. Good pull. I've been worried. Their schedule's so easy.
Their schedule's easy, but like I said, maybe, Dobbs might be. Who would have thunk it? Maybe Joshua Dobbs can pull off at least one win of the 2. The Vikings have the Lions twice between now and the end of the season. And if the Eagles have 3 losses, Jody, to answer your question directly, I think my gut tells me they lose to the Chiefs. They beat the Bills. They beat the Niners. And they probably go 1-1 with Hawks and Cowboys. I think these next 5, they go 3-2, but that's it. They can only lose 3 games the entire season. I think they got to sweep the Giants and beat the Cardinals. So,
by the way, I think that gets it done. You win 3 games. You're obviously beating the Giants twice. You're obviously beating the Cardinals. I think that gets it done. I really do. As long as you go 3-2.
14-3 with a 3-2 run here in the next 5 with obviously the swing game that could go one way or the other is the Niners. I think they'll beat the Niners at home if the game and look, the Niners are healthy at least this week against Jacksonville. They get Williams back at left tackle. They get Debo back. Who knows if Purdy is going to go back to the form we saw before. He's been terrible the last few weeks. So if they go to Sam Darnold of all people, but I think that's the swing game there. I think 3-2 in those 5 games, Jody.
All right, are you ready for this? I'm dismissing both of your concerns. Not only did I last night on WIP say the NFC East is over, the 19-year run of no repeat champions in the NFC, done. The Eagles are winning it back-to-back. It's history. It's already in the books. I chastised some people who said the Phillies had already won the NLCS when they were up 2-0 and or 3-2 over the Diamondbacks. I was not one of them. I was smart enough to walk right up to that line and not walk over it. I'm walking over it now. The division is done. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the NFC East. And here's why I think the Eagles are going to have the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Lions schedule is not as easy as you think it is because, you're right. What does Josh Dobbs give them? Here's my question about the head coach. He's a tough guy. Everybody loves him. He's like one of the most popular coaches in the National Football League. Will he be a tough guy and say, we're playing every single week between now and the end of the season? or if he's got the division salted away, will he pull back on the reins? Because my suggestion would be the Eagles will. They'll pull back on the reins because they have before. And I don't think Sirianni necessarily would do that, but I think Sirianni takes his marching orders. Do you think Dan Campbell will say, all right, we've locked up the division, or do you think he'll fight tooth and nail all the way to the wire against the Eagles?
I do. I think
I think if the number 1 seed is in the equation, he does. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Yeah, they want everybody to come to Ford Field. I don't think they play this week either. The Lions, are they on a bye?
No, they're back.
They're back. They
had a bye this past weekend.
Okay. Who are they playing? They're playing the Chargers, right? Their next
Chargers on Sunday. Yep.
That's a big game. Because that's a game they could lose. And then after that, I recall, I got to pull it up. I'm just doing this from memory. Then it's just like Bears, Packers, Saints. Saints
they
okay.
They got the Cowboys next to last week of the season.
The Cowboys are the other one. So I look at the Chargers and the Cowboys. Other than that, it's Bears, Packers, Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings twice. Yeah, Josh Dobbs could be big for the Eagles if he can, but I don't trust.
Go Josh Dobbs. Go Josh Dobbs. Is the Eagle fans really doing that? I'm not sure if that's the case. All right, Ricardo, you mentioned the fact that you've got the Eagles kicker as one of the top 3 MVP candidates. I got to give a shout out to Brandon Mann. He got off some pretty good punts this past week. After Eagles failed drives, 1, 2, 3 punts, it could have been that much worse if he had gone Shankopotamus on a couple of those punts. He did not. I thought that he had a good game punting. The Eagles finally have a punter for the second half of the season that we can have confidence in your opinion.
I think we can lay that to rest. I've been impressed by Mann. It hasn't been, exactly Ray Guy coffin corn or anything like that, but it's been enough. It's better than what we had before. So I think that's one thing we don't need to worry about. I agree.
Poor Aaron Cepas. I don't
Sorry,
think anybody has picked him up yet either. So
no.
We hardly knew you, Aaron Cepas.
Now I gotta ask both you guys. I've been watching nothing. I spent the whole day watching, NFL opinions from yesterday and this morning. And to a man, everyone that I have seen when they review the Cowboy-Eagle game on Sunday, everybody is saying that Dak Prescott was the best performer on the field.
Oh, come on. I ripped them to high up. The lack of situational awareness bothers the living you-know-what out of me with Rickie, with Dak Prescott, Rickie. I bring it that last drive, that burst and 5 at the 6-yard line with 4 chances to win the game. They went back 4 times. They were desperation mode at the 27. How does a veteran quarterback put you in a position? There's a delay of game in that series. At the end of the game, delay of game. How do you take an 11-yard sack? I said, you know what? Sometimes you get a great pass rush and there's nothing you can do. But guess what? If you're a quarterback, you're going to take a 7-8-yard loss. He's taking an 11-yard loss, which tells you situational awareness is terrible. And Jody brought up the stat. What was the stat, Jody? When Jalen Hurts is trailing,
Jalen Hurts is the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL, 120, whatever. Dak Prescott, 32nd. He's the worst quarterback in the NFL when trailing in games this year.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the all 22, Jake Ferguson is wide open down the middle of the field when he decides to throw the ball. I think to Lamb. Ferguson's got a clear path to the end zone when you look at it from above. On that last play of the game, he would have walked into
Ferguson
the end zone.
was that open?
Wide open.
I gotta look at that again.
I did not know
it depends on the progression of the play, and sometimes he's not supposed to be looking that way.
He was 2 yards beyond the defender, wide open, right down the middle of the field. Jake Ferguson would have hit him. He would have walked into the end zone.
Yeah.
And I took a call on this last night, and we'll let you run in a second here, Rick. Eagle fans not happy with the talking heads on television, all talking more about the Cowboys and Eagles. That's not a Philly disrespecting. They talk about the damn Cowboys every single week. It never stops. Doesn't matter who they play, whatever. Well, how about the Cowboys? How about Dak Prescott? How about Jerry Jones? That's not a Philly disrespecting. That's just the Cowboys are a team that moves the conversational needle and the ratings needle, so they overhype them and overtalk about them. They should be talking about them in a losing venue this week as they were beaten by the
We only hear about the Lakers and the Cowboys on national sports.
And the New York Yankees, Rickie, Ricardo.
Nobody talks about baseball, John. Nobody.
If we're in baseball circles, the Yankees are the big dog, but they don't trip over into the national near as much. You're right, Rickie. Rickie, always a pleasure. Thanks, bud. Muchas gracias, amigo.
Anytime.
That is the voice of the Eagles. And Espanol, Rickie Ricardo here with us on Birds 365. All right, quick timeout. Come back. We'll put a bow on the show. Now we got days and days and days to wait before the Eagles play another game.
Days and days. We get through an off season. This is nothing for us, Joe.
Okay, if you say so, McMullen. Jody Mac, coming back here on Birds 365.